Okay, so I made a big mistake today. Today, I thought I had work. I did not have work. I woke up at 6:30 this morning, and I got out of bed, showered, did all that stuff, went to work, got there before 7:30, talked to my boss, and she's like, "You don't work today, do you?" And I looked in the back, and I don't. And I was like, oh. The reason that this happened is because I thought that I worked at 7:30. I wrote it down on my phone, but I was kind of like unsure. And so, instead of phoning my work and asking if I worked today, I didn't, and I made a fool of myself. The reason I did this is because I was kind of afraid to talk on the phone. It's called telephobia, the fear of talking on a phone. And it's an actual thing. I mean, I don't really have it to an extreme extent. I'm a little bit afraid of talking on the phone. But I think this is kind of like, I don't know, this rings true in my life in other situations, and which brings me to probably the most embarrassing moment I've ever had in my life. So, when I was in, actually I'm not going to tell you what grade I was in, because I don't want you to judge me on how old I was. I wouldn't eat a sandwich. I was really, really picky about what I would eat, and so my dad would give me crackers and cheese. And I said that I liked crackers and cheese. But you see, the thing is, I was so self-conscious, and I was afraid that people would judge me for just eating crackers and cheese every day and not eating a sandwich like people, my classmates. And so I wouldn't eat them during lunch, and I wouldn't eat them at all, actually. And I would come home, and I would take my uneaten crackers and cheese, and I would put them in a drawer, and I would leave them there until, like, a month went by, and then I would try to, like, sneak them out into the garbage. It was ridiculous. I mean, just looking back, I don't have a very embarrassing life, I guess, because this is my most embarrassing story anyways. But it got to the point where I kind of put off putting them in the garbage for a long time, and so they kind of, like, started growing and growing, and I don't even know how long I was doing that for. It was close to a year maybe, and they were all in there, and it was getting moldy and starting to smell and stuff like that. Finally, my mom cleaned my room one day, and she found them, and my dad had brought me out into the car. We drove along and have this talk about why I did this, and you know, I was littler, so I broke down crying, and it was really, really embarrassing because, I mean, I had this whole bunch of cheese and crackers, and the only reason I did this, I actually liked eating cheese and crackers. I liked them, but I was so self-conscious that I didn't want my friends to think that I only ate cheese and crackers, and I thought they would judge me for that. So I, did that instead. My point with the story is eat your sandwiches. No, I'm just kidding. My point with the story is that I think there's a lot of things in our life that are getting old and growing moldy, and that we have to do things that are really uncomfortable, or slightly uncomfortable, to prevent these things from happening. Prevent these things from growing and getting moldy. And that's a really weird metaphor, but, or analogy? Is it analogy or metaphor? I don't know. Anyways, that was one of my more embarrassing stories. Maybe my most. It's really kind of weird and gross, and really immature of me. You probably know something in your life that's getting stinky and starting to stink up your house now. Do something about it, otherwise you'll regret it later. That's pretty much it. Yep. Not even Mike knew that story. And now it's on the internet for everyone to see.